we don't tend to want to feel emotions because they don't feel good. The heavier, denser ones, the fear, all of the nervousness and all of that, we don't want to feel that. But really, emotions are just energy in motion. So if we let that energy flow through us, then it can naturally clear.
Welcome to the Soulful Reminders Podcast, your go-to spot for spiritual inspiration, growth, and connection to your true self. I'm your host, Emily Kady. Each week, I invite inspiring guests to share their unique spiritual lessons and insights, helping us all remember who we are at our core. This is more than just a podcast. It's a vibrant community where we'll explore how to unlock our full potential and embrace our essence in every aspect of our life. Life can get busy and overwhelming, but here we focus on those soulful nudges that remind us of our incredible power. Whether you're seeking wisdom, a bit of encouragement, or simply a moment of inspiration, you're in the perfect place. Grab your favorite drink, get cozy. Let's dive into this journey together because you deserve to shine your brightest. Karen, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today on my Soulful Reminders podcast. Your knowledge and background in clearing energetic blocks in people and emotions, clearing old emotions that are from this lifetime and past lives has been really profound. I know in many lives, I know that you take on the hard cases that no one else can do. You're referred by so many people in the spiritual and medical world as well, right?
Yes.
To help people that are dealing with the physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, whatever, to help clear that. And I know that we've been working together for a while. You've helped me out a great deal. And I'm excited to bring you to my audience and let them get to know you. So welcome.
Thank you, Emily. Thanks for having me. I really got started, I feel like many years ago. I feel like when I was a child, there was a lot of kids in my family. And my father was kind of cold, really. And looking back, and this is many years forward, looking back, I realized I was really very intuitive. I would kind of try to guess his moves so I wouldn't get in trouble, things like that. And so over the years, I really feel like I just grew into that. I was always interested in consciousness, although would have never said those words, right? And then my mother got sick when I was, it was around 19 or 20. And that was really hard on me. I really kind of had to dig deep into that, move through that. And through all of that, I realized that there's much more. I really felt like there was something, and this was really much that stuck with me with her. There was something that could help her. I had no idea what it was at the time. And I'm not that it could necessarily cure. She had cancer, but at least to make her feel better and lighter, right? And I realized that she had a lot of emotional stuff. Now, this is a lot looking back. And if I knew then what I knew now, I think she would have at least been at peace. She was not at peace. And I feel like that's a lot with people, that they're not at peace, but they don't know why. They don't know why. And that's a lot of what I do is I help people release emotional baggage. We'll say emotional baggage. It could be from lineage stuff, right? So if you think about all of the things that people on this planet now, what their forefathers and their ancestors have gone through, it's pretty significant stuff along it. Why have they moved all over the world in the countries, So all of that stuff, it gets passed down. And this is scientific. It's not just woo-woo. Scientifically, it's all shown that science doesn't know why, but they know that it does happen, that we are carrying around things that have happened to us in this lifetime, emotionally wise, and also things that have happened to people in past lives, and then also in their lineage. So it's pretty significant.
Absolutely. It's interesting how we do carry down this like energetic imprint down our generations, and we're totally unaware of it. We're unaware of like some of the fears that our ancestors had. We still carry them. We're not even facing those same like tragic times that they're in.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious for you with your mother, was that like the pivotal moment for you to say, I really want to, because she never found peace with where she was at, that you wanted to go into this direction? What brought you into this line of work?
The first memories that I have is when I was a teenager. As I mentioned, I had there was five of us kids, and there was always something going on in the house. One of my sisters had a movie on at the time, and I was walking through the room and I stopped in my tracks. It was a movie about a woman that could heal with her hands. I believe it's a true story. I don't think I tried to find the movie, I can't find it. But it was a true story about a woman that could heal with hands on healing, put her hands on a person, and then she would actually contract a disease or whatever it was that that person had. But then her body would heal from it. So she basically took it from them. And from that moment, I was mesmerized by the whole thought. I had no idea. I grew up in a upstate New York in a little tiny town that I didn't know anything about anything except for Catholic, which is my family was Catholic, and that's all I knew. So I had no concept or any. I didn't know anything about it. Put it that way. But it stayed in the back of my mind. And as I grew up, I was always interested in the mystical saints and how they could do, we'll say, the magical things that they did, levitate and heal and all of that stuff. And I just was on a spiritual journey, I think, looking for that. Little did I know that for my whole life, really. And then I did the Reiki master training, and I did IET, which is integrated energy therapy. I have a lot of certifications. I've done a lot of that type of work. But it wasn't until I think it was my father had just passed away in 2018. And I loved all that other stuff, but I felt like I wanted something that I could be tangible for people. The results could be tangible. And I found that just after he died in 2018, I kind of feel like he brought that to me, which is why I mentioned my father passing away. And it was the emotion code, and by Dr. Bradley Nelson, he created that. You can find that out there. So right then and there, I decided I was going to do that because the interview that I saw of him, what he was talking about, I was like, okay, I'm totally into that. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And sure enough, that was the basis for what I did. I worked for free on people when I was doing my certification, and the results were pretty fantastic. So I just kept growing from that. I added the body code, which is his second body of work, and then did more intuition training. And learned how to basically do energy clearing for people. Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, can you share some of the tangible results that you have seen with your clients? I know for me, like in my early 20s, I got into acupressure and I loved it because there was tangible results of seeing people's lives, like just by a simple touch of, a finger can really like get the meridians and the energy back into homeostasis.
Yeah.
And people, have amazing results from it. And I don't do acupressure anymore. That was a long time ago, but I'm curious for you, like what sort of results have you seen from your clients?
I love working with physical pain that maybe people don't know why they have, or doctors can't figure it out. So obviously releasing physical discomfort is really high on my list. I love doing that. I also, especially when people haven't been involved in this type of work and they are sent to me or they find me for whatever reason, almost always after the first session, they say they feel lighter. And that is really because it's scientifically the emotions or the density that they're holding, the emotions actually have density. And so once you start releasing and lifting that, they are feeling lighter. There's a freedom there. That slowly gets really integrated into the person, so they don't notice it going down the road. But literally, it's whatever it is, it's cleared and it's done, and it doesn't come back, right?
So it's like after the first session, there's this huge clearing that they can feel like they're totally shifted and they're a different person.
Yeah, they really are. Some people, everybody's different. Everybody is sensitively in different ways. So sometimes people can feel after every session or during every session. And when I'm doing a session with people, I'm actually leading them to, so say they want to work on some say fear, right? So I'm leading them to think about where they're feeling the fear. Sometimes you can feel it in your body. And so I kind of hone in on that. And I feel like placing attention on, and people can try this at home. if you're listening, if you're feeling some pain, put some attention on that and just ask yourself, like, what are you feeling? Why is it here? And just be open to whatever answer comes and whatever you're feeling. Because sometimes even just putting your attention on it, your consciousness on it, can help shift things. Yeah. I also really love helping. And I actually just was on the phone with a woman today who had a memory. It only was last year. She had a son that she had a little incident with, and she had a lot of guilt from that incident, and she couldn't let it go. So I worked with her on clearing the emotional baggage and the energetics from that, so she can feel free to move forward and not have that stuck in her.
That's a really powerful thing because I
Yeah.
know when you have a last night, for instance, I love how spirit works because my partner and I were out walking our little dog Daisy, and we kind of got detoured on our walk. We have their normal walk we do, but this time we got a little bit of a detour. And as we're like starting to head back home from the detour, we're at a crosswalk, and this woman and her three little kids are crossing the street. And as they're running across, the kids are running across the street, and the woman reaches to grab one of her sons to say, "Stop running." And she tripped and fell and completely dislocated her elbow.
Oh no. Wow.
So we go in, my partner steps in, he's like immediate, like really good in traumatic situations to take charge
Wow.
and help her get up and get her across the street. But the one thing, the reason I'm telling you this, the one thing that keeps going through my mind is that those poor kids, the
Yeah.
trauma that those kids are going to carry, that I mean, her elbow, it was like a completely deformed arm. It looked awful. And these are little tykes. These are not like,
Yeah.
I think one was 3 and one was probably 4. And just thinking, oh, my heart just went out to those little ones. And I was just like praying for them and sending them energy and
Mhm.
praying for the mama because I know she was in so much pain.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Wow.
So, but yes, having the ability to work with people because I again, I'm thinking these kids are going to carry this trauma for the rest of their life. Like I really hurt mom.
Yeah. Well, and you have a really good point there, and a very blatant point, really, is that why do we get all these trapped emotions? Why do we get all this emotional baggage? And it's exactly things like this that can actually, so if they were feeling fear or whatever the emotion that they were feeling, that energy, if we're not able to process it, now this is part of the bigger picture. If we can process the emotions that we have, then that's fine, right? We're going to have emotions. We're human, right? That's not going to go away. But if they had a little bit of a trauma from it, or a little bit of PTSD, emotional stress, then those emotions can get stuck in them right from now. And if they're not released or cleared in one way or another, then they're going to have them for the rest of their lives. And when they have children themselves, it's a good possibility that they'll get handed down to the
Wow.
children. Yeah.
To have
So
that
it's,
awareness and know that this is like you have to like energetically work with these traumatic situations as quick as possible to release them.
yeah. And sometimes it's as simple as just letting yourself feel that emotion, right? We don't tend to want to feel emotions because they don't feel good. The heavier, denser ones, the fear, all of the nervousness and all of that, we don't want to feel that. But really, emotions are just energy in motion. So if we let that energy flow through us, then it can naturally clear, right? But we're not taught, people don't know. And so here we are, it's built up now. I feel like it's built up for generations, right? I'm sure somewhere, at some point, people knew about this kind of type of work, maybe not in this way. I feel like it's coming up in a new way that it works for us now. But I feel like medicine men and women way back when, I'm sure this is part of what they did, you know?
Right.
So I don't think this is any new information or anything new. And basically, feeling your emotions, we're meant to feel emotions. We're human beings, you know?
Yeah, we came here to feel them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting to watch my dog because she was like so calm, and she was just keeping distance. And I had her next to me the whole time last night when this happened. And again, I brought up that we got detoured because I love how spirit works, because we were in that spot to help her
Mm-hmm.
when she needed it. And so, but my dog, she's 100-pound lab. She's a big girl. And when she gets excited, she can pull and get involved when she shouldn't be. Well, she was so good. And she stayed off to the side with me. Like, I didn't even know I had her next to me, to be honest. And I'm running into a gas station to get ice for the woman. And I have the dog with me. And she's just like, the dog's like totally calm and peaceful. The moment we got home, and all of us had adrenaline just rushing throughout our body, Daisy starts rolling on the ground and shaking and just getting that all out of her system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I need to be doing that. I need
Absolutely.
it. So I got up and
Yeah.
I just kind of jumped in, like, get this out of me. And I did exactly what you talked about. Sat with that emotion, like that
Yeah.
anxiety and that stress and the fear for that poor woman and her kids, and
Yeah.
just sat with it and just let it like come up and out of me. So I'm glad that I was in tune to do that. I think Daisy really helped trigger
Yeah.
that
No,
for
that's
me.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that, so you're bringing up Daisy, but interestingly, like we are actually taught to work with animals when was taught the emotion code. So some of the amazing stories about, because I have worked on some animals, and actually recently I worked on, my daughter got a kitten a couple months ago, and the kitten seemed very, very stressed, but I went down and visited her, and I didn't know anything. I didn't see the cat before, but she was so afraid. And like 3 days in that I was there, I realized, like, oh my gosh, like this cat has serious trauma, right? So I did a session on her, and my daughter, we were stunned because it was great for me to see it in person. She changed right then and there. Like she
Oh,
didn't act the same. She
oh,
was so much better. And then the next day, I think I did another session on her, and she has gotten better and better. But it was pretty profound to see that shift.
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I know I've been working with Daisy and her trauma because she's a foster dog. She's not
Right.
actually my dog, and she comes with a lot of trauma. And I've
Yeah.
been doing like tapping, and I've been just doing energy work, but maybe I'll have to hire you to do a little session on her
Yeah. Yeah.
to help her out. She just got adopted. I'm super excited for her, but I'm just really trying to make sure her gets in check and she gets back into homeostasis, because she's truly an amazing dog.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. I watched your other video, so I know you're excited about having her get a home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's wonderful people that have
Yeah.
decided to step up, and I'm just
Yeah.
grateful. I'm absolutely grateful. She deserves it.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just think it's important to understand, like, not only do we as humans carry the trauma, but our dogs or cats mirror our
Yeah.
trauma,
Yeah.
or they have their own, and to acknowledge that we can help them release that so that they can live
Absolutely.
a harmonious life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I love that
And I
you
think that people,
daughters.
and they can also have inherited, believe it or not, trapped emotions and
So like the
energy.
kitten,
The kitten, who knows? Well, the kitten was 8 months old, so we don't know what happened to the kitten
right?
before she was adopted.
Hmm.
But yes, certainly they can have trapped emotions that are, and I talk about trapped emotions a lot. But when I'm doing a session, like I will be getting downloads of maybe of different things of what is happening. It's hard to articulate now when I'm not actually having it happen, but I'm getting messages for people too. Sometimes like, did this happen to you or did that happen to you? I actually, one time I was doing a session on a man, and all of a sudden I got the visual. I'm like, did you hide under the bed when you were a child? And he said, no, I really didn't. So, but 5 minutes later into the session, he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I just remembered something that happened. He said, I hid under the bed and everybody in the house was looking for me, but I wouldn't come out. And everybody was freaking out. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, right? Because sometimes those kind of things happen too, of what was happening in those instances. Yeah. And then sometimes we'll get past lives because all of this,
I'm curious, in that instance, so you picked up that there was a moment he hid under the bed and it freaked
yeah,
out the family. So there was some trauma that needed to be cleared, probably
yeah,
for the family. the mom and the dad, or
Yeah, probably.
necessarily for him, but and so you clearing that trauma out helped the mom and dad, even if maybe they're in the spirit realm or not.
Yeah, for sure. They
Mhm.
are both, they are not in the spirit realm, but yes, so they could be helped. A lot of times, yes. So when you're clearing something, and I feel like this is more of what this clearing is for when you're clearing a trapped emotion that's inherited. So when you're clearing emotional energy that's inherited, you're actually clearing 7 generations before, up to 7 generations before, and also going down the line, right? So if you have children, right, and you have been through stuff and you have all this emotional stuff, then they are being cleared while you're being cleared, right? And
Mhm.
this has actually been scientifically proven. This is not anything that, is made up anymore. I feel like the instrumentation now is so good that scientists know all of this stuff. We don't necessarily know it on this end, but it's definitely something that actually happens. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's truly beautiful this time that we're in, and that spirituality and science are like starting to like marry and come together.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful for Dr. Emoto and
Yes.
his water and
Yes. The
moving that.
miracles in water, right? Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And a lot of times when I'm doing readings for people, and I know that there needs to be an energetic clearing or healing, their spirit guides or my spirit guides will say, tell them about Dr. Emoto.
Mm.
The importance of understanding that this is real. Because if we can conceive this as
Mhm.
real, then it really does have a powerful impact.
Yes, for sure.
So
Yeah.
do you believe, or are you in the same mindset as me, or do you have a different mindset of like, so if you have a client that is kind of closed off and doesn't know, it's kind of like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like skeptical of what you do.
Mhm.
It's the likelihood of clearing their energy good or not. I
Yeah.
think it's blocked, but I'm curious to your input on that.
Yeah. So what I've learned and what I believe is that people can be skeptical because everybody in the beginning, if they don't know about this work, of course they're going to be, it's totally out of the mainstream of what happens. But if they're open to it, because when I'm working, we're going directly with the subconscious mind. So it's bypassing all of the conscious programming and everything. Now, if they consciously want to block it, then of course it's going to be blocked, right? Until they're open. But you can be skeptical for sure. And you can still, because we're bypassing that. Your subconscious is the supercomputer, and it's remembering everything you've seen, said, or done. And that's where we're working, which is why this work works, because we can't remember necessarily what has happened and what's affecting what, but our subconscious totally knows that. Yeah,
That's
totally knows.
I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. That's amazing. So I'm curious about belief systems and having like this is along the same lines of what we were just talking about, being skeptical and if our belief systems are contradicting each other and how that can impact your work.
Yeah. That's a really good question. And really, belief systems, we grow up with such programming from our parents, from schools, from just the collective conscious, commercials, even. And so if we are going against ourselves, that's kind of, we're trying to go by to get past a belief system. And that can be really tricky, right? Because your subconscious is keeping your subconscious is always trying to keep you safe and always trying to do the best for you. But if it has a faulty belief system, then you're not going to get the results that you want for whatever. So say you want to drive a car, but you're really afraid. You have this belief system, and maybe you were in an accident when you were a child. Of course, in that case, we would certainly start um, releasing some emotions from or whatever energies from when you were a childhood accident. But sometimes you wouldn't even know that a person has had an accident. And so the subconscious, we are always relying on the higher self of the person, and it will just go there automatically. As far as belief systems, then sometimes it's talking to the person about contradicting belief systems, right? So say you want to, I don't know, have a really clean house, but when you grew up, your house was always a mess, right? There's going to be, as simple as that is, that can be a really hard thing for people to get through, right? A lot of times I would talk to people and then do releases and find some energetic imbalances of why that is like that. Your subconscious can unconfuse itself. So when I do a session, sometimes all this spontaneous leads will come up, and you might have experienced it. What would it take, right? Or what would it take for your house to feel neat and to be neat, right? And it's just for your subconscious to unconfuse itself and to bring in some different energy, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, Karen, I've never heard that term of the subconscious unconfusing itself. Absolutely love that. And so that's where the contradictory beliefs come in, is
Yeah.
the conscious is kind of like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm confused.
Right.
Love that.
Well, I feel like we've grown up with so many different things that happen to us in our lives. People have different belief systems that they're putting on us a lot of times, especially I feel like school. When kids go to school, I find a lot of trapped emotions from around that 5-6 years old. And I feel like that's part of that the child, well, now a lot of times children go to nursery school or preschool, but they're in a whole different environment. And we have to remember that and this is Dr. Bruce Lipton did these studies, and I'm sure there's many others, just before you're born to 6 or 7 years old, your subconscious, you are absorbing and imprinting on whoever's in the household, whoever you're with. And in a bigger picture, in a healthy life and environment, that would be great, because you're trying to learn to be a person, right? But when there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in people's houses, and sometimes kids go through horrific things and things are happening, then that is all being imprinted. So we take that through it to adulthood, don't know it. And so we're kind of playing out these, we'll say belief systems, for lack of a better word. They're kind of ingrained as a belief system in a way. Even though maybe sometimes they're not a belief system, but they're just a program running. That's a good way to put it. There's a program running. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. And like for me, and having a learning disability and trying so hard just to be normal and not be called stupid or whatever it is that I was, faced with as a child, and having those, what did you call it? The programming,
belief systems and programming.
Yeah, the belief systems and the programming that are just kind of running on autopilot. And
they're running the show. Yeah.
They run the show, and they've limited me in every aspect of my life, because it was imprinted that this is the confines of who I am supposed to be here in this life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had to, you've helped me break free from those limitations. It's not something that happened over it necessarily, for me at least. I see it's like peeling back the onion layer one at a time, and I feel like, oh, I have more breathing space here. I feel bigger. I feel more confident. I feel more me.
Yeah. And that is actually very true. It is a process, right? So we come in with all this baggage, we'll say, all these belief systems, all this imprinting. So the people that I find that love this work, some people just want to come and feel better. Right. And that's totally fine. The people that I feel like want to grow their consciousness, and sometimes this happens as I'm doing the releases and the sessions with them, is that they start to realize like the bigger picture and connotation of this. So then they want to keep going. So I have people that I've actually worked with for years, because they are growing their consciousness, having breakthroughs and different things, because the longer and the more you do it, the deeper you go and the clearer you become. Right. So you can choose to how you want to live your life, instead of having life be run by your subconscious.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. And yeah, I like saying choose to live by design. Like, what is the design? How do I want to design my life?
Yeah, exactly.
And whereas allowing my subconscious to just run it, and me thinking, oh, I want this in my life, but if I'm not going to clear it, I'm never going to get what I want.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe I will, but maybe it will take so much out of me to get there.
Yeah. And also, Emily, there's also a part, and you just said a word that I'm going to expand on: design. So I don't know if anybody's heard of human design, but I feel like the human design is a system that really can show you who you are. It's like a blueprint of a person. And this is another aspect. We don't need to clear everything, right? Everything doesn't necessarily need to be clear. It needs to be integrated, expanded upon. And human design is one of those, it's a system that actually was downloaded, and it has to do with the I Ching, it has to do with Kabbalah, it has to do with Eastern Western astrology. And it was brought onto the planet in 1987 by a man. And I bring this as part of my tools because if people know who they really are at the core and what their type is, there's 5 different types in human design, then once they start to know, they're not fighting against themselves, especially the types that are lower percentages of the population. There's a couple types that are 20% of the population, and then also 9% of the population. And they just work differently. Their energy just works differently in the world. So if you're one of those ones that are only 9% of the population, you're thinking there's something wrong with you when it's really not the case, right? And so to kind of unconfuse in that way too, in a conscious way, is super important, super healthy.
Yes, it is. There's so much freedom and understanding, like, this is how we individually operate. And we're not supposed to be fitting this mold of what society says we're supposed to fit.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's okay. And once you can, again, it frees up so much energy.
Freedom. Yeah, it can bring you freedom. Yeah.
I know one other area you've helped me out with understanding, like, my purpose in this lifetime through human design is to help people. And I've been told by a few different like spiritual people that my purpose is like architecture. Like, I'm a spiritual architecture of people's lives to help them understand, like, to break down the old and build the new. This is similar to like what you're doing. And you confirmed that when you looked at my human design, and I was like, oh, this feels so good that I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no, it really does validate who you are. And it makes you feel, I feel like it just takes the pressure off because you're not trying to fit in or be somebody that you're not. Mm-hmm. You can just know some basic information on human design, type, strategy, and authority, and that can get you through a lot, right? People can go very deep if they want to, but they don't need to. Right. And so finding out how you make decisions, what's your decision-making process, right? And again, this all leads into the whole body of work that I do. Is my intention here is to help people raise their consciousness. I don't talk about it that way when I'm doing sessions and working with people, but really that's the bigger picture is as you clear, your consciousness raises and your outside world is going to look different because the outside world is a reflection of your inner world. It really is.
So do you have any advice for anyone that maybe in a position that they are maybe just feeling like, I'm just thinking of myself before I really gone down my spiritual walk and how things just seem so confusing and dark and colorless. And I was just trying to navigate what is my next step, but I was navigating it with so much uncertainty. Mm-hmm. What sort of advice would you give to anyone that may be listening to this podcast that is in that situation right now?
I feel like one of the basic things that we can do is be truly honest with ourselves and teach children to be honest with themselves, right? There's so much, and these are very subtle things that we're going through, even just what you like, right? If somebody has, when you're a kid, if somebody has a lunch that you don't want, like whatever is a contradiction within you, even just being honest, like, no, I don't like that. No, thank you. So being brutally honest with yourself, I feel like is really good. And also teaching children to be honest with themselves, because also then you can trust yourself, right? And know yourself. It's truly how you start to know yourself. Right. Also feel your feelings, right? Take a break. If you've had a hard day or something really happened that is a hard situation, go sit in a quiet room for a little while and let that emotion go through you, and while keeping your body relaxed, right? Mm-hmm. Couple caveats to that: keep your body really relaxed and stay out of the head spinning, the head running, right? So let yourself feel the feeling without the head running the best that you can. Keep your body relaxed and it's just energy, really. in the big scheme
So
of
when
things.
you say the head running, you mean like all the thoughts of like, what if, and the negativity.
Exactly. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
allow. So if you're feeling anxious or worry or fear, feel it without thinking about what you're anxious, worried, or
The
fearing.
best you can. I mean, your mind is going to tend to want to think and just keep going and rolling around. But if you can kind of really feel into your breath or your heart center, then that kind of gets you out of your head, and you can just let your body feel what it's going to feel. And you can stop at any time, or you can keep going as long, because there's plenty to release, really. And that's a part of a process of releasing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I do want to just have this disclaimer that neither of us are therapists. So if
Exactly.
somebody has had major trauma and emotional trauma, then it may be best to work with a licensed therapist and
Absolutely.
help you navigate those deep-rooted emotions. If there's, we don't want to put you in a position that you're not feeling, you're not capable of going through on your own, I guess is what's important.
Yes, absolutely. Very good point. Yeah. Yeah. But these are just basic things that we're not really taught when we're children, to feel our feelings in a healthy way. Right. So that's why I say that.
I love this. Thank you so much. So Karen, if somebody is interested in working with you, what sort of offers do you have right now, and how can they get a hold of you?
My website is KarenCorrado.com. And if anybody's interested in their human design chart, you could go on my website and look up human design. It's right on the top, and you can get your free chart. And even there's a free it's a reading that is about health, 3 things about your health and your chart. So you can do that. And then, of course, we could always do a human design reading if you want to go deeper. Or there's also lots and lots of resources on YouTube. I also do sessions, 50-minute session. I'm doing a special right now for $100. It's usually $125. So if people want to look that up also, they can do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any parting words before we wrap this up?
No, thank you, Emily. And I really want to just thank you also for the work that you do, because I feel like it's so important to integrate all of this type of work that I'm doing, and really connecting with spirit is so important also, really.
It is. It's for the listeners out there. Karen and I, we often refer clients back and forth to each other, because there's certain areas that I can help out with, and there's certain areas she can help out with. And our goal is truly to just help, as Karen said, rise your consciousness, help you evolve as a human so that you can navigate this life with grace and ease and shine your bright, because right now more than ever we need you and all of us to shine our bright. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you got as much inspiration out of this podcast with Karen as I did. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Soulful Reminders Podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered by the incredible insights we shared today. Remember, every story and lesson we explore is a beautiful reminder of the immense potential that resides within you. As you continue on your journey, take these soulful nudges with you. Embrace your true essence and actively work towards unlocking your full potential in every area of your life. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with others who could use this little reminder too. Until next time, keep shining your light. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can uplift and inspire one another to live fully and authentically. You got this.